Well, it's a happy Monday, everyone. You're in great company. I'm Rae Bonney, and with you for the next hour, right up until 1 p.m. My show today, as always, is about people recognising that it really is okay to not be okay. So turn up your radio. Today, it's Lucky Legs 11th of December, in full swing of the ridiculous season with just 15 sleeps till the big man makes an appearance. I hope you've all been good. I know... No, I'll leave that. Now, today's guest has a story so huge that we're going to take it across 2 weeks. She was a household name back in 2007 and has recently returned to Australia, not as a comeback, but rather a rebirthing. I'm going to take you back in time here. Have a listen.
One of you guys is about to become the Australian Idol. We know it's close, but there can only be one winner. The winner of Australian Idol 2007, guaranteed a record deal and a dream come true, is Natalie Gauci.
Don't go away so quickly.
I can't believe it. I'm sorry, I can't believe this is happening.
Believe it. You've won Australian Idol, Natalie.
Okay.
I'm not making this shit up. Look, Natalie Gauci. But
Matt Corby, so many people have been behind you for so long. You've experienced so much with us. I mean, you've come so far. You must feel great to get this far, at least.
Yeah, that's an understatement. This has just been the most challenging thing I've ever had to do, and I'm so happy. You know, I'm just so happy for Nat. Honestly, like she's friggin' unbelievable. Like you should hear her originals. She's just gonna blow everyone.
We are going to hear more from her, ladies and gentlemen. An amazing effort, Matt Corby.
Thank you, everyone.
So
I'm pretty sure that right now in Melbourne, your Uncle Sam, who's in a tutu, would be pretty much going off right now. That's just...
I can't stop laughing. I don't know why I'm at the giggles, but they're good giggles.
So somewhere in between strolling into an audition room, sitting down playing a keyboard, you're now the Australian Idol. What's the sensation?
I don't know. It just feels like it just doesn't. It never ends, and it just keeps going. And the buzz is always there, and it makes me feel so just grateful to know that people have voted for me, like around Australia. And I don't know. I just feel like myself still, like normal, but just I'm on a stage at the Opera House singing a song, and you guys are voting for me. And I don't know. It's just really exciting.
Well, Natalie, this is how real it is. You're now the winner of Australian Idol. You now have a recording contract with Sony BMG. You go on tour on the 2nd of January.
Wow. What a moment that was, Nat.
I know.
I got a bit teary, actually, because I'm looking at your face now.
Yeah.
And your face 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so much has changed, and that's why you're here on the show today to talk about that. But even watching your face, listening to your reaction of disbelief, that's quite amazing. But I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Straight up. Welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
Now, do the nerves and excitement of being here with me at the studio of 3WBC measure up to that moment we just heard?
It might at the end of the show when we get through everything. Probably more than it did back then. Different vibe.
Very
different platform,
vibe.
different
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Different lifetime ago.
Well, yes. 10 years isn't a very long time in some respects, but for you and your journey, which you've shared with me over the last month or so, is really quite remarkable and probably what one might not expect, having won such an accolade as we just heard. And, you know, we hear the guys talking about, you know, the recording contract and the album, all the things that you're going to get and how exciting that was.
Yeah.
Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to unpack the reality of that.
Yeah.
So now, what about Matt Corby in that? I was really interested to watch his face when he didn't win, but they really built him up to say, you know, you're basically the favourite and bad luck, and he looked a bit sad. But he's come out recently also in the media to talk about his experience of Australian Idol, which wasn't positive at all, even though he's gone on to record his style of music.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I can only speak from my experience. And I felt like when him and I were leading up to that point, we had limousines, we were sitting on the thing, we were walking in, and there was, you know, the opera house, and, you know, we had Lionel Richie, so we were on a high the whole time.
Lionel Richie was there.
Yeah, he performed with us, like both of us on the stage. And, you know, Matt didn't let go of my hand the whole time. He was so young. Like, he was 17 and I was 26. It was my 26th birthday. And we had a personal friendship behind the scenes because he didn't know what he wanted to do. He knew he didn't want to win. Right. And he said that to me. And I said, well, I think you've got a really good chance because, you know, all these girls are screaming out your name.
Yes.
And I know he was genuine at that point, how he said he loved my originals, because he did. And he really believed in me and I really believed in him. And that was genuine.
Yes.
So whatever happened after that, I really don't know, because I was just pulled away from it. Like,
yes.
I remember thinking when he said that I could not wait to get my originals on an album. And then when they told me after that about how I'm going to go on tour, I actually said to Andrew G, oh yeah, I'm going to be taking my band. I'm so excited. Like, I was living before Australian Idol when that happened. Like, I wanted to take everything that I'd created over the last 10, 15 years before that into that marriage, so-called marriage, that you get that dream. You know, that was my dream, but that wasn't what the dream actually is. And so, like, during the time of the moment where I won to the moment where I had to go off stage and move into the next phase of my life, that's where I felt the switch or whatever, something shifted inside of me.
So in terms of being in the competition, was there much preparation, knowing towards the end that you and Matt were looking likely to be, you know, finalists, but preparation in moving to that next stage?
There was no preparation. There was no... we didn't even make contact. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that was, I think, quite strange in itself.
Because even watching the footage of afterwards as well, you were literally ripped
Pulled
off
away.
the stage.
Yeah.
And then I heard there was an interview that was being set up for you and you're in the backstage. I think they said your dress had fallen off or something. And
Oh, really? I
and
don't
you
know
had this
about
white fluffy big skirt on. And yeah, but you could hear the commotion going on behind the screen where you're basically being stuffed into this outfit and just like pushed out on wheels practically.
And I had my family wanting my attention too.
Yes.
And I didn't want anyone around me at that point. I just thought to myself, can I just have 1 minute to enjoy this moment for myself? You know, but at that moment, that's when the pieces started to be pulled.
Yes.
You know, here, Natalie, come over here. Here, Natalie, come over there. Oh, yes, okay. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. And every single piece of me was falling apart. I didn't realize that at the time, obviously. But now I can look back 10 years later after my whole life journey and say that was the moment where I sold my soul.
As so many people in the industry say, don't they? It's a very common comment.
And psychologically, I'm writing a book at the moment, so I've written all of this out and I've done a lot of healing, spiritual work on myself. And now I know that we all have this negative voice inside of us and we have the positive voice. And when the negative voice comes out, for me and all the things that have happened to me in my past, I needed counselling through that time.
Yes.
You know, I didn't need what I got given. I needed counselling.
Well, I think any part of the human condition that experiences change, you know, whether it's a small change or something quite miraculous like that, it needs to be contained through that. And it sounds like that, you know, there was no containment around you and you're probably just falling all over the place. But I know a few people phoned me this morning to say, can't wait to hear Natalie on the show, and really interested to know what really did it feel like in, you know, at that moment, and then just the first days, weeks and months after?
It felt good and bad. So there was moments of really, really big highs and then moments of extreme lows.
Could you describe?
Yeah. So the first extreme high was the win. Then the low was afterwards, because what happened, and I haven't actually said this ever live anywhere in public before, and I have been afraid to say it, but now I feel like I'm ready to. And it was my 26th birthday. My whole family were at this party afterwards, like the after party of the win, and I was given a lot of different options of recreational drugs to take.
I thought you was going to say I was given a lot of options about record deals.
No, the record deal was done. It was the thing that I think affected me the most was the fact that I had those other options exposed to me and that I said yes to them because I felt like I was invincible at the time and that I was also a big machine and nothing was going to affect me. And not knowing really the next day that I had 72 interviews to do.
Yes.
And then 3 days after that, a whole album to record. Like that, I didn't know my schedule.
Yes.
So I just went, yeah, I'm going to rock and roll, party and go crazy. And then not sleep. And then 6 a.m, have to go into the first interview.
Well, we all know what happened to Prince. He did that in 1999. So, you don't want to party like that.
No. No.
You like my jokes now.
But what that does is when you're on a big high like that and then you want to extend the high, the body goes into adrenaline and then it shuts down when the drugs come into play and the subconscious becomes controlling over you, which means other people can control you basically.
Yes.
So there's an underlying factor in taking drugs because that means that other people can control you because you're not alert, you're not conscious of what you're saying or doing, but you believe that you are.
And it feels like you're in control
Yes.
as well. Now, there's a community message for everyone out there at Whitehorse and Burundara community. Don't take drugs.
And then if you do, it's all about how do you get off it, and then addiction starts and then all that stuff happens. So
Yes.
yeah.
Great message.
Yeah.
Right? So getting into that, I guess, you're on this roller coaster where it probably felt like it wasn't going to stop for a while. Like you're at the circus, it's in a 24-hour one rather than it has a closing time.
Yeah, so I had to battle the negative thoughts that were going through my mind as opposed to the positive thoughts. So the negative thought process was, wow, did people really vote for me? Was the show rigged? Am I really that good? Why aren't my label listening to my music? Why do I have to go back and re-record an album? Why did so this process starts.
The self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, because no one was there to pick up those questions for me. I couldn't sit with somebody and say, why is this happening?
Yes.
I just had management telling me how good I am all the time. I had people saying yes to me all the time. I had people telling me everything I needed to hear to make money.
Yes. And you also mentioned you didn't really have the support of your family because your mum was going through something and...
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I had brother and sister too. My sister was going through stuff. My brother had a life too. My parents had separated, and there was, my mum having someone else, she had a boyfriend, then dad, all this stuff was going on.
Life was still happening.
Yeah, life was still
Yes.
happening. And I was famous and supposedly really successful, but felt really trapped. And I didn't know what to do, and I had my first panic attack at the age of 26, because I really didn't know how to get what I wanted. It was all like, what about me? Okay, I'm making money for the label. I'm making money for everything else. I get an advance, but where's that money going? And what am I actually doing, right? So the music that I recorded, that voice is real. That passion, the pain, the struggle, the happiness, the highs, all of that, the singing, that's me, And so the writing part of it is what I wanted to bring to my audience at that point. That's why I work so hard. So I was willing to go back to my management and go back to my label and say, look, I worked really hard for this. Now I want this. I want to bring my band on tour. I want to bring my music on stage on tour because Matt Corby and I had to do a 2-month tour after the show.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing experience. But still, I was segregated from Matt. We didn't really talk through the whole thing. And I was being controlled. Like, you know, but thinking.
So not singing your music at all?
Well, I had a meeting with my management because when I had my panic attack, I actually tried to call my mum, my dad, my sisters. No one was answering the phone.
Where was that when you had your panic attack?
I was in Sydney.
And what surrounded that event?
Because I was isolated. And I was tired. You know, I was off the back of the birthday and off the back of the 72 interviews and then the meeting.
So how long was this after the actual grand final?
Pretty much the day after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was bang in. Yeah, there's no time, no rest. Yeah. So after those 2 days, I just pretty much collapsed and then was told that I have to do this 2-month tour and I have to go back and do 3 days of the album because Damien Leith got to record his album 6 months later and release a Winner's Journey DVD. So all my fans wanted that as well.
Yes.
And so I was really excited about that because then I'd have time to build a relationship with the label, play them my songs. Like this was all in my head what I had visualized. But then I got told that I couldn't do that because Fremantle hadn't asked Damien Leith.
Fremantle are the production.
Fremantle Media are the production company that are associated with the label. They released the Winner's Journey album, DVD, sorry. They released the DVD and didn't give Damien, ask him for permission.
Yes.
So that means that I couldn't do it because Damien Leith was actually disputing that and I think suing them for that. So that means I can't do it. I can't tell my fans what's really going on. And I felt so disheartened at that point in time and I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel nurtured. And I felt like I was then losing out basically.
Oh, definitely. You're a human being that's fallible. And when you describe not only being, how long was the competition?
The competition was around 6 months or so,
which is
plus the auditions and the 3 weeks rest. So it's like a whole year.
Extraordinary pressure, and living in that bubble of what's going to happen when.
I loved that. I loved the pressure, and I loved the fact that I could go in with John Foreman and create music.
Now he seems like the real deal.
He is. Yeah. He's amazing. Yeah. He's one of the best things. He was one of the best things about that show.
Yes.
And because he knew me from before and I'd worked previously with the musicians on the show, I worked in that corporate scene. So they knew the talent that I had. And I always went to the director and I always said, I really want to put these drums on it. Like for the Kate Bush song, Running Up That Hill, I took in my own drum loops. I said the tempo I wanted, the song. Like I got to really, and the drum fills that were on there. Like that's what passion and music is to me. That's what it's all about. And if I couldn't bring that into the next stage of my life, to me, my life was over.
Yeah. I just love how you just describe that. You describe even colouring in with your hand. Like
playing the drum fill. Do. I can hear it in my head.
And it never fails to astound me, people that can paint and people that can create music, because I can do neither. I can work with people and I can see patterns with people, so I understand the correlation. But I think it's just such an incredible talent, which you obviously have. But I just wanted to observe that when you just illustrated that. I think that's when we should be doing this live streaming.
Oh yeah,
thing.
We can live stream.
We can. I'll have a crack at that.
Okay.
After the break.
Okay.
But, so John Foreman, and then being able to be a bit creative in the competition. Was that the thing that probably kept you really interested and motivated?
Yeah, and that's why I went back to my management, because that night after I had that panic attack, I managed to get my breath.
Did you tell anyone about that?
No. I told my brother because he called me back.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Nat, you need to call your management and ask them if you can have your band and ask them if you can play your own music. He said, it's simple as that. Like, they're your management now.
Or even somebody support you through, this time of exhaustion and just general health care could have been
that would have
useful.
Been amazing.
Yes.
That would have been probably the thing that would have, I guess, put me over to the next level. And maybe, who knows, maybe I would have compromised with the label. Who knows? But I actually did at that point, thanks to my brother. So I asked if my brother could come on tour with me as well, and they said yes.
Oh.
So they said I could do 50% original songs and covers from the show.
Yes.
And I could take my band, and I offered them a little bit of like a pay cut of my pay to do it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So that was a good outcome.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
best outcome I could have had. Yeah.
You know, the feeling of being cared for, and I do say this a million times on this show, but the feeling of being cared for far outweighs being told you're cared for. So, you know, you sign all these documents to say, we care, you're part of the family, blah, blah. But if you don't feel it, it's not real. But, you know, it sounds like that gesture of having your brother, having your band, and having some license to do your thing, then that gives you the feeling of, you know, getting up there and giving it, you know, 110%.
Absolutely. And then there's actually doing it. So there's the fighting for it,
Yeah.
achieving the victory, and then going in to do the rehearsals,
Yes.
going to do the show and getting on stage and actually performing that music.
Did any of that self-doubt creep in then that you described before?
Yeah, but not as much. Like I was super confident on that tour.
Yeah.
The only self-doubt I had was when I realized my management never came to a show. And I was like, what have I done wrong?
Yes.
You know? And that was a big question mark. Huge.
'Cause
And
how many shows did you do on that tour?
28 at the end.
Yeah, enough that you could turn up for one.
They turned up at the end on the
right.
very last one.
Yeah.
And
Was there an after party, was there?
well, no, there was a big flight to Malta
Yes.
because I got invited to sing as part of the Eurovision Song Contest in Malta. So they have a festival before
Because
they
you have
choose.
some Maltese blood coursing through your veins.
Yeah,
and I'm not
half
talking
Maltese.
about the chocolate treat either.
No, I'm half Maltese, half Italian. Yeah.
So could you see family while you were there? Or?
So yeah, well, my dad ended up coming, and so did my brother. So then that was a battle as well, because I really wanted to do that last show, because to me that was the end of the tour, and management weren't really pushing for it because obviously they had other plans for me, which I didn't know about. And I was just getting upset. So I just asked my brother, can you please organise this for me with Dad? And then we can just go at the end and do the last leg. So I got sponsored by Emirates, I think, or by the government to go there.
Did you fly first class?
No. But that's okay. We had like the whole plane to ourselves. I don't know. We were like on the
fantastic.
last flight. So anyway, so that was amazing. And the thing was that it was the ride to the airport that could have make or breaked me, right?
Or broken?
Or broken me. And it
I'm
was
also an English coach.
Okay, yeah, sorry. It had to rhyme in my head, right?
course, yes.
So anyway, yeah, so I'm in the taxi, my management's in there with me, and he said to me, do you think that we're the right management for you? Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that. And he said, you know, you're more like a seer. You're really left of center with your creativity. You know what you want as an artist. And maybe there is a way, you know, that we can, I really don't know what words he used, but in my head, I was thinking that he was going to give me an option to help me find a new manager. So I leaped and jumped with excitement in my mind thinking, wow, like he gets me.
Yeah.
And he wants to help me, you know. So he said, well, think about it while you're away. Write some things down of what you would expect from a manager and then come back and we'll talk about it. So when I got back, I wrote everything down and I went back to the management, but I just wasn't in a good headspace. I really wasn't. I hadn't heard from anyone.
Yes.
I disappeared. All I wanted to do was just party when I got to Malta. I was so exhausted. You know, I did that show and I was so headstrong about doing my original music at that point. I knew that I didn't have the backing at that time because I hadn't spoken to the label. I hadn't heard anything. It was just like, okay, great, bye, see ya.
Yep.
And off I went, you know, on this next journey. And so I pretty much partied for 10 days straight when I was
Because
in
you
Malta.
mentioned the drug taking,
Yeah.
you know, right from your birthday and
Yeah.
the grand final. So this was continuing on.
Yeah.
And you're using that also as I guess as a crutch or even as infrastructure to help you manage because of the lack of real care from
Yeah.
human beings.
Exactly.
And not to, no, I mean, you must take some responsibility.
Oh, well,
for this as well.
absolutely. Well, that's why I'm saying it, because if
Yeah.
I didn't take
Yes.
responsibility, I would never say this
Yeah.
to anyone.
Well, we're going to go to a little break now. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the albums that you produced
Yeah.
after this time to see what that was like. And I have a bit of an example. I shouldn't say an example. I have a track of the Winner's Journey album, and I was playing it this morning, and the track I've chosen is one of my favourites because by an artist that I love. And when I asked Rory, my son, who appears on this show quite regularly, I said, which one do you like? I played him your version and the original version, and he picked yours.
Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, Rory.
Straight off the bat. Whoa! Can we do that, Natalie?
What? Do what?
At the end, you know, that whoa.
Which bit?
You weren't even listening.
I wasn't.
Welcome back. You're with Rae Bonney and Natalie Gauci. She won Australian Idol back in 2007. We were just joined in the studio by the divine Ken Lyons. Natalie was totally besotted with Ken.
That's why she blew me away. I was like, what a man.
She was stuck for words. Look, I'll hit you guys up later. So, in fact, I have to tell you a story about last week. Ken and I often go on dates with each other.
Oh.
And we attended quite a swish cocktail party at Camberwell Grammar School. And we get down there a lot. I do work down there, and Ken is an old boy. Not the oldest boy, though. There is one who was older. And Ken, it was a night of terrible rain, and Ken wasn't feeling very well either. So, but we still had a great time.
Good.
It was an interesting ride home. A few gutters, you know.
But you made it alive.
We did. So, but he's a very good partner. If you ever want to go out with a guy who treats you well, get on Ken Lyons. Well, I mean, don't get on Ken Lyons. No. Now back. We just heard Running Up That Hill by Natalie Gauci, originally by Kate Bush. And what a fantastic rendition. And you described this song before, how you put it together with drum loops. I've never heard about drum loops before because I just think about sticks and skins when I think of drums. So.
Yeah. Well, drum loops are just, that one in particular I got from GarageBand. You know when you buy a MacBook, you get these programs that are already built into the computer. And that's how I discovered how to produce music. And they've got these live loops that they record of tablas, Indian tablas or world music. And I just really got into that. And I thought that'd be cool to do a version with those drums. So that's how it started.
Well done, because it sounded bloody ripper.
Thank you.
Really, really great. Now, other albums.
Yes.
So this journey, the Journey album, that went very well, didn't it?
It did. It went platinum. Yeah, it went to number 11 on the charts, on the album ARIA charts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean for people that don't know what that means?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you, okay?
Yes.
So in the music
I'm
industry...
glad you are, because I wouldn't like you to lie on my show.
Thank you. Well, I would never lie, but sometimes I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but today I don't mind.
Well, you just came out pretty much. So Australian Idol won't be coming back next year.
No. But basically in the record industry, when JB Hi-Fi was big and, record stores were big.
Yes.
The word platinum and gold means that it's what the record stores buy in. It's not what people buy. And now that's moved into iTunes and Spotify and things like that. So it's the same principle behind this. It's just moved on to online digital purchasing. But basically, they give, just for example, 70,000 copies of the album to JB Hi-Fi. JB Hi-Fi buys the albums. That's the platinum.
Ah.
So that's
even
why
if
you
they
see
sit on the shelf forever.
Yep, that's why you see records in the bargain bin. That's why. And the label take pretty much 89-90% of that money.
And what do you get?
I think I got $8 per record.
Okay.
Around
You're going to
that.
say $8 full stop.
No, like I think it's $8 per album
Yeah.
that I would get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to sell a lot of albums to get rich on that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, Spotify's now you get 7 cents or 0.07 cents per play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed much.
Yeah.
But if you're independent, it's okay. Anyway, that's a different topic to talk about altogether, but that's part of how it works.
It is.
Yeah.
In fact, I recently had a guy on my show from the Collegians, Glenn, And he was talking about exactly the same thing. You know, they're an Australian band who, starting out again as well, and just released an album. And it's just such a tricky terrain to navigate, isn't it?
There is a lot of illusion in the music industry. It's all about perception and what you get told to believe or shown to believe. Or
Well, for example, when I was listening to some of your stuff last night, I saw this album Ha Ha Ha, which you produced. That's your original stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'll give that a bit of a go. I had a listen. I really loved it. And then I read something about that particular album, that it was released onto iTunes, and then in a media release it said it was taken off, but we don't understand why, for some unknown reason. But of course you can unlock the key to that reason.
I can. Well, I did that. I took it down. I put it up and I took it down. And when I recorded Ha Ha Ha, I recorded it in Melbourne in 2010. Yep. And I was married at the time. And I was
you kind of missed a little bit. We're going to have to digress a little bit because for our listeners, they go, what? She got married?
Yeah. And I'm not married anymore. No. Just to let you know.
So was this part of the whole scene that you were in, that you met somebody within the industry, or?
Yeah, well, I actually met him at the ARIA after party. So as part of the show, we got invited to go to the ARIA Awards. And I was very outgoing. I still am an outgoing person. I like to meet people. I want to party. I want to go out. I want to have fun. So part of that for me was meeting my husband at the time, who I didn't know was going to be. Anyway, he was friends with Dicko at the time, like pretty good friends. Yeah. And I remember Dicko saying to me at the ARIA party that night, oh, he's a really, really, really good man. Like he said, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, he looks pretty wasted to me. So I might just get his number and go to the after parties and see how we go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, 6 months later, or I don't know how long, won the show. I've moved out of home. Because I'll just rewind a little bit and give you an idea of what happened after I won. Went into an apartment in Sydney, did the work I needed to do. But then when I had to come back to Melbourne to do my rehearsals and stuff with my band, I didn't get an apartment.
Okay.
So I had to go back to my old house. Well, in my head, I felt like I had to go back to my old house.
This is where your mum lives?
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, I had money. I could have gone and rented an apartment, but I chose to go back with my brother into the family home. And I think that's because I realise now that I had unfinished emotional baggage that I needed to really work through, and thinking, well, go back to the family home. I mean, Italian background, Maltese background, the cultural thing, it's just what you do.
Yeah. And what period of time had elapsed between winning and now?
Let me think. It would be about, let me think. I'm guessing 2 months, 3 months max.
Yep.
Yeah. And so me and my brother were both on this journey together. Yes. Right? So when we got back, we had merch money put aside. We had, so there was money there. We could have got our own apartment. Do you know what I mean? But we just I didn't think of it like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to teach my brother how to be my manager because I've got no one else supporting me. Yes. And then during that time, I felt really bad because how am I going to do my music and nurture my brother and teach my brother how to do management? What am I going to do? I had a big burden on my shoulders. So I made the decision to separate from my brother. I explained to him that I'm really tired of doing everything and I just want to focus on my music and do my album, and maybe he should concentrate on himself and figure out what he wants to do with his life as opposed to, going anymore. And that was hard. Yeah. That was really, really hard.
Yeah, family.
It was hard, And so I did, and I moved out. And I ended up moving in with a really good friend of mine who's a trumpet player. And he had a really nice house in Coburg. It was really awesome. We had a lot of fun there. And so what am I up to? I'm going to digress
because we're going to get to the marriage.
Ha, ha, ha. Marriage. That's it. So
that's really funny. Ha, 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 marriage. Hence the title of the album. We could be also comedians if you like. Just do some practice after the show. You'll be fine.
That's so funny. So I met him. I went looking through my phone because I was so depressed. I'm like, why isn't my label listening to my music that I'm writing? Am I really that bad? You know, like I really believed I was a good songwriter. And my confidence was going down and down and down. So I'm looking through my phone and I'm thinking, who do I know that I can call?
That can make me feel better about things.
That is out of my circle, who is still in the music industry. And I had no idea what he did for a living. He was the only person in my phone that I didn't know. So I thought, I'm going to call him. He answered the phone and he ended up coming over to hear the music I'd been working on. And he genuinely loved it. He genuinely loved it. So he took it upon himself to go and speak to people about it in the industry who didn't work in my circle but knew people in that circle. So I kind of went around the back way, you know, and I got to speak to people. And the advice that I got was to stay true to myself always and to make the album that I want to make. And that was pretty much what I felt. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And then me and Hamish just became inseparable. We were on this mission together, you know. And yes, we went off the rails. Yes, we did things to the extreme. Yes, we got married after 6 weeks. Yes, we did a lot of crazy things.
That's
but we
real
were
rock and roll, isn't it?
We were so in love with each other. The problem was that we became too codependent on each other. He ended up living vicariously through me. He is a very materialistic person at the time, so he was thinking a lot about money, whereas I wasn't. I was thinking more about the music. So I was willing to, pay off his $25,000 debts, do all these crazy things.
When you're in love, why not?
Yeah. And we were still partying a lot. We were taking drugs a lot, but we were functional. We weren't, off the rails as such. We're still able to go to work. We're still able to do our jobs. So we thought.
Yes.
So we thought.
The highly functioning crowd.
Yes. And then I wrote Ha 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 in the middle of my probably the biggest time of loneliness I've ever felt. I was really famous. Everybody on the outside probably thought I had everything. Marriage, a record deal. On the outside, it just really looked like a dream come true. But on the inside, my heart was hurting. I was in a lot of pain because I didn't know who I was anymore. And when I wrote Ha Ha Ha, I needed some comedy. I needed something that was going to give me happiness, And my ex-husband loved those funny face things you buy from the bakery.
Yeah.
So we always used to go and get them and eat them. And so I wrote Ha 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 about the funny faces at the bakery and put a light heart on the fact that I was feeling so down and I wanted to feel up. So I just imagined myself going down, down, down into the ground like how you would in a meditation and then bringing yourself all the way up into the clouds. That's what the song's about.
What a beautiful story. Natalie and I were again in another deep conversation about Ken Lyons. Ken, can you please get out of our heads? You're stealing the show. But great story and great song too, by the way.
Thank you.
And I love that you gave the little story about the funny faces.
Oh yeah.
Like, who doesn't know one of those, and who hasn't had a child who goes, want one of them, or even the faces that you get on the processed meat in the deli.
Really?
As well. Yeah.
Oh, there's funny faces on processed meats. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't, and we will talk about that next week because you're now a vegan as well.
Yeah.
You did eat meat at one stage.
Oh yeah, I've eaten meat pretty much all my life.
Oh, you would have had pigs on the spit.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah. Beasts.
Yeah.
Over fire.
Definitely.
But welcome back. We're coming up to the final parts of the show, but next week we're going to London.
We are.
Yes. So the next part of your journey, which I guess is the second part of your spiritual healing process.
So talking about my first spiritual awakening, which happened during my divorce process.
Yes.
Yeah. Of the label and the marriage. So,
Definite line in the sand there.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Was that by design, or was that just, the way that the universe took care of you?
Definitely universe, because it was propelled by my dreams. It was the dream state that I was more alive than when I was actually awake. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I started having dreams about traveling. So I was like this goddess, going from one place to the other, talking to people, helping people. And a lot of it was just so beautiful and blissful. And I just wanted to be in that place. And so I started to work out tools in my waking life to actually get myself into that place.
That's fascinating, isn't it? I've never really heard of anyone accessing their dreams to bring into daylight to use.
Yeah, well, we all have dreams, and dreams are the things that actually make us who we are, and we never get taught that at school. And dreams are big energy. If the bigger the dream, the bigger the energy. And that is actually what manifests and creates our whole life.
So what do you do with it? I had a dream the other night that I was kidnapped and taken hostage and I was going to be murdered. So how do I bring that in?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you watching movies or?
No, I had I have a very colourful mind and very extremely detailed dreams.
Well, my instinct tells me you need to start writing movies, scripts and stuff, to get that stuff out there because people like watching that stuff.
Yeah. Or convert them into computer games or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But how long did you spend in London?
6 years I was away.
Gee. And when did you come back?
This year.
Yeah, because
in August.
I did get that right at the start of the show that you've just returned. And that's where you met the wonderful David Mann, who appears reasonably regularly on my show here at 3WBC.
Oh, David Mann is a legend. He is just one of the nicest men.
Yes, genuinely nice. And for those of you that aren't familiar with David spent many, many years at 3AW, Man About Town. But not only that, he sits on just about every board that was ever created in this town and, does so much work for the greater good of people. Very selflessly. So he rang me, as he does, to say, because he calls me Raylene, because that's my real name.
Oh.
Ray's my stage name. He said, Raylene, I really need you to speak to this person. She's great. She's fantastic. It's Natalie Gauci, won Australian Idol 2007, went through a period of discord. You need to speak to her.
And here I am.
So I picked up the phone straight away and then we connected.
Yeah, we did. We really connected. When you just meet someone and you just instantly connect, we did that.
Yes, I think we've had the amount of hours that we've probably spent in discussion would be a normal friendship, maybe 6 months.
That's why the interview's amazing. We've done all the prep work.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I would like to mention that if anyone missed part of the show, some of the show, you can find me, just type in Rae Bonney YouTube, Rae Bonney podcast, and you will find this and many of my other shows produced for your comfort and enjoyment.
Is it Bonney?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you for spelling that out.
It's okay.
Yes. So part 2 is next week. Now, we have talked Ken Lyons up quite a lot in this show. He had a lady in once who has a lavender farm and the the therapeutic properties of lavender, which you probably know a little bit about.
Lavender's for the heart.
Yeah.
It's very warming. So if you have lavender in your garden or in your house, always you can have lavender baths as well if you're feeling like you want some nurturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throw the leaves in or the flowers.
Just the oils, or you can smell the flowers.
Put it in a biscuit if you want.
If you can eat them if you want. You can eat lavender flowers.
Yeah,
I don't know what they taste like.
Well, I know in the last years, speaking of reality TV, the MasterChef competition, I think they had lavender in just about everything.
Really?
It was just getting lavender ice cream.
Okay.
I don't want to eat lavender.
I prefer lavender oil or incense. Yeah.
Well, I've got some under my pillow at the moment.
Perfect place to put it.
Yeah. Rory, my son, was given some at an agricultural show we went to in Seymour earlier this year. And he goes, I don't want that. And I said, well, I'll give it a crack. I'm not sure how I'm going with it. Maybe that's got something to do with my eye condition.
Oh, that could be.
There you go. Also, my YouTube channel, I'd like to give a shout out to my mate Scott Corman from Talk Hub. Now, he produces all kinds of amazing media. For me, people like Bettina Arndt and Mark Latham, he's been known to do some work for as well. And he's an up-and-comer and very, very generous in how he donates his time for the greater good of people as well. So thank you, Scott. Also, anyone that's having feelings or, even though we've had loads of fun on this show today, we do talk about topics that can promote feelings in people that might be uncomfortable. So don't forget, Lifeline 131114. The suicide callback service is 1300 659 467. And of course, emergency services 000. You are not going to get into trouble for being worried about somebody to the extent that, you know, you're extremely alarmed. So really important stuff.
Yep.
And next week we're going to also hear you live in the studio, a bit of a cappella perhaps.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. But I know your mind, how it works. During the week, you're going to conjure up probably something else. You might bring the whole band in because John Farmer, our station manager who you met earlier, he loves a full-piece band in the studios.
Can we actually do that? Could I bring a band in?
How many?
Oh, how many can you fit?
Oh, I reckon probably no more than... We could do it out there as a special thing, but probably in here no more than 3 people.
Okay, well, let me come up with something. I'll connect with that one.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll discuss it. Look, I can see John through the window. He's having a
nodding
freak out.
his head? Oh, no.
He's just gone all red and white, looking at his watch going, when does she finish so I can yell at her?
Uh-oh.
But, you know, testament to community radio, you know, getting stuff out there, and it's not about promoting people. It's about sharing what we have with our community, and not many people get to listen to stuff like this and hear the people that are getting out of their beds every day to produce things, you know, off their own bat. You know, many of us that go out into the world don't get paid for what we do.
No.
And especially in your industry, and I do quite a bit of work in your industry with a group called Entertainment Assist, which David Mann sits on the board of. And, you know, really understanding that whilst you might have a platinum album and whilst you might be on tour, that's not an easy thing, and you're not necessarily, you know, profiting as one might think. And
That's true.
In between those albums, you know, it can be years.
Absolutely.
So
there's still a human being underneath everyone.
That's right.
All our achievements, all our successes.
Yes. And it's good to endorse, you know, what you've been talking about today, that human being underneath, you can also lose sight of that person yourself.
Yeah.
Which you did.
Yeah, that's why it's important to talk about these things and to tell people your story. Because I'm no different to a lot of other people out there. I know my story is unique, but every single person's story is unique in some way.
Oh, in every way.
Yeah, in every way.
In every way.
Yeah.
It's funny the word unique, isn't it? It's sort of like dissolves into nothingness when you really look at the world and you look at people. We're all just
unique.
Different, yeah.
We're all unique. We all have a gift. We all have something to give to the world.
We certainly do. So, Natalie, I'm going to see you here back next week. Same time.
Woo!
Oh, what was that?
I don't know, but I think they agree.
Something just fell over in the studio, but that's okay. All right, well, we're going to see the end of this show now. Play a little community service announcement before we hear from Ken Lyons. And you've been listening to Rae Bonney, where it really is okay to not be okay. And remember, Christmas is always not a great time for people. So remember, extending just that little bit of kindness and care, you've got no idea what that can mean to somebody. Just a little smile, you know, pay for their groceries. Not all of them. Don't get angry on the roads. Give up a car park, whatever it might be. Okay? So take care, everyone. We'll be back next week.